Watch Mr. Wizard. That's what all the kids in the neighborhood call him, because he shows them the magic and mystery of science and everyday living.
Mr. Wizard?
Oh, hi, Alan. Come on in.
Hi, Mr. Wizard.
I'm glad you're here because I'm getting a suntan standing in this light. You go around over there and see that box on that stand?
Yeah?
Well, you go around and look at it in the back end. See what you see.
It's you, but you're upside down.
Yes. In fact, that's a simple viewer that you can make at home without any trouble at all. Have you got a cardboard box at home?
Yeah.
You have some wax paper?
Mm-hmm.
And a simple magnifying glass like from the dime store?
Yeah.
Okay, then you have all the ingredients you need to make a viewer like that one.
That's all you need?
That's all you need. Now, wait, I'm going to turn off this light before I get bright light there. That's all this is. But the reason I wanted you to see this kind of thing is because based on this principle, but without the use of the lens, in other words, using simply a hole in a piece of metal,
yes.
I'm going to take a picture of you before you leave.
All right.
A real picture.
Okay.
One that I hope you'll be able to take with you if I'm lucky.
Okay.
Now, here's how you might be a little difficult for you to do, but you can make a viewer like the one you just saw there using no lens, just a pinhole. Have you heard about pinhole cameras and pinhole viewers?
Yes.
Oh, well, then you know something about them. Have you ever made one, though?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, then maybe this will be a new experience for you. Here's how you make a pinhole viewer. Box. On one side, cut out. See? And here, put wax paper.
Wax paper.
Plain wax paper. Tissue paper would work, too, but wax paper is better. It's brighter. So you try wax. On the other end of the box, cut a hole. And over the hole, put a piece of aluminum foil with tape, see? Okay. That's the lens, except that we haven't got it quite. That's the lens holder. Because here's the lens.
Pinhole.
Safety pinhole.
Safety pinhole.
Okay. The smaller the hole, the better the resolution, but the less light. So I have a fairly big one so we can get it. Now, if you turn this around, over here you see here's a piece of wood, and in the middle I have your letter A-L-A-N cut out.
Yeah.
See? So we can now put this camera or this viewer here. If you look there, you are. Can you see these letters?
No.
Well, now the reason you can't is because there's not enough light coming from here, and there's too much light back here. So if I have some lights behind here, I can turn them on. You see how I light those up?
Yeah.
But if you look back here, you're still going to be too much light from here in the room falling on the wax paper. So now, you watch right there now, and I will then slowly turn down the light in the room, and you see if you can't see this appear over here, okay? All right? Now, slowly I'll turn the lights down, and you watch what you see. Now, do you see those letters right down there?
Not very well.
Well, you see they're right down here, just barely.
Yeah.
Well, now, the reason you can't see them too well is because there's not really very much light coming through here. I'll make the hole just slightly bigger. I'm going to put the pin in the front end now and make it just slightly bigger. There, you see?
Yeah.
Pretty dim, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is dim.
Okay, and now watch what happens when I turn the lights in the room back up. They'll disappear completely, right? See them right there? Watch, they'll go completely. Gone.
Gone.
Okay. Now, we did see an image down there. Did you notice it was also upside down?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, doesn't that seem strange? If by just putting a hole in a piece of paper or a piece of aluminum foil, we can get an image back here. Let's go now and see if we can explain that by drawing. Okay?
All right.
See, there's a drawing pad over there. I have already got some stuff drawn on it, so you go on over there and instead
look like much.
Well, it doesn't look like much. But instead of using A-L-A-N, because it would be hard to see, I drew a figure, man. Head there, feet here. See?
Yeah.
And let us assume that we are going to take a picture, as we are of you later, and that this is you. We're going to take a picture of the whole you. Now, light is falling on you and being reflected in all directions, and that's what all these funny lines are. Notice that light goes back this way, this way.
All different directions.
If I walked around you, I'd see you because light would hit my eye from any of these directions. Notice from the middle of you, it's also going out in all directions, and from your feet. I didn't draw any down this way, but it's all going in all directions. Now, in front of you, then, we put a piece of aluminum foil, let's say, and we have put a pinhole in it. There's a little hole there. Okay. Here's a pencil, and here is plastic ruler. Let us follow what happens to the beam of light that instead of being reflected all around here, goes down and goes right through that pinhole and hits this piece of wax paper over here.
All right.
Draw it nice and heavy so it stands out. Okay, now notice we have a little tiny beam of light that's going through and coming right down there.
Uh-huh.
Now, of all these beams of light that are coming from the center of you, let's trace the one that goes through the center of the hole there. Okay, now draw that one.
Whoops.
That's a little too hard, I think.
Yeah. There.
Okay. Now we can do the same thing from the one that comes to your feet. See, there's others that are going all around down here. But let's trace the one that comes to your foot and also goes through the pinhole.
All
Okay?
right. There we go.
Now, give me that pen. Because you see, your head was up here.
Uh-huh.
The light that's reflected from your head can go through this hole, and we would now see the image of your head down
On
here.
the bottom.
Yes. And the light that's coming from your feet is now going through this hole, and now is up here like this. And we would see a picture of you upside down. But notice that of all the light that's reflected from you, we're only using the little tiny piece that goes through that hole, and that's why this image is so dim.
Well, if you made the hole bigger, then wouldn't it be right side up? And,
Well, if you made the hole bigger, more light could get through there.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
All right, you'll see what happens. Up here again. You look on the wax paper. I'll turn on the light, and I'll take the pin and start making the image bigger up here. But remember now, you couldn't see it because there was too much light in the room. So I'll turn the lights down, and you'll see the image then there on the wax paper. Okay. Now, there you are. See how dim it is?
Uh-huh.
Now, you want me to make the hole bigger. Okay, here I am sticking the pin in the hole. I'll make it just a little bigger now. Aha!
Uh-huh.
It is brighter.
It is.
You're right. Okay, let's make it brighter yet. Ah, it's getting brighter.
It's getting fuzzy, though.
Yeah. Now I've made it about the size of a pea, so we get a lot of light in there. Ha! Look at how bright it is. Yeah, you see what happens to it? Gets pretty dull, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So now, when we make the hole bigger, why should the image get fuzzier? How many beams of light are coming through that little hole from your head now, let's say?
A lot.
A lot of them,
A lot
yes.
of them.
So instead of having a little point there, we have all kinds of points, and they all blend in together and make it nice and fuzzy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now I'll turn the light out, because it's getting nice and bright. Do you see any image on there at all? Just a sort of spot of light. In fact,
Yeah.
I'll put my finger in the hole, and there I've gotten rid of the entire aluminum foil in the hole, and you now see this. Now watch what happens. Keep looking at that wax paper, and look what happens. Ha! See that?
Yeah.
Nice and
Yeah,
sharp
it's
and
pretty
nice
good.
and bright. I wonder if you can guess what I did there in place of putting a pinhole.
A lens?
Yes, a lens. In fact, here it is. You see it? There's the lens I put. If I put that over in the front of the hole, we now can get a very good image of you or your name or anything else that we look at right there.
It's just a magnifying glass.
In fact, I'll turn the lights on now, see if you can still see it.
Okay.
Gone, but just barely. See it there?
Yeah, just a little bit.
barely. So you can see there's quite a bit of light that comes from here, is now focused by the lens into this piece of wax paper.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now using this system, you can make a viewer in which you can see the effect that we're going to later on take with a pinhole, although we're not going to use a lens to take the picture.
You know?
No. To make a good viewer, to look at scenes around the house and outside, if you have cardboard box, wax paper, and a thing like this, you'll be able to make a very nice viewer. But let's improve it. And
All right.
here's how we'll do that. That's the box I was experimenting with when you came in.
Uh-huh.
I have it mounted here so I can move it around, and this is very easy to do. I'll put it down like this so that you can see it. A box, preferably with a cover on it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be. Like that. Inside here, I've drilled a hole in the front end of the box, and I put a piece of wood back here to make it a little thicker.
Yeah.
See, so that the hole is this thick now.
Sturdy.
And here is a mailing tube, just the size of the lens that you get from the dime store.
It's nicely.
Just fits in there. And if you can't find a piece of mailing tube that size, why, you could make one out of a roll of paper, couldn't you? You roll it up several times, and you now have, putting my fingers right on the lens. Not much of a lens.
No.
Now, with this kind of lens, you should have a box about this long, at least 10 inches long or longer. It's about a foot long. See?
Yes.
So now you can put this in here, and it slips in and out, and you can now adjust it back and forth. Huh?
Uh-huh.
Then, my version here is to have this piece of wax paper on a little screen with a little platform on the bottom and a handle so that you can move it back and forth. You can put that down in here, and the handle comes out here, and you can now move it back and forth and focus it.
That helps adjust it.
Yeah. Now, if you turn... Let me bring it up again, because I now have a little peephole in the back to keep the light from the room from falling on it. You remember how I had to turn out the lights before?
Yeah.
Well, with this kind of a system, you don't have to turn out the lights. You can look through that hole.
Uh-huh.
Right? And now, with this, you can adjust it back and forth.
Screen.
Okay, now, then top on it, paint all the inside black so that you have the least problem, you know.
Uh-huh.
Now, in fact, I'll go turn this light on, because there's a horse sitting up there on the shelf. And I'll see if I can adjust that to the horse up there. And see if we can't see the... There's the horse. And now you reach in here and... Okay, now you look right there and see. Can you see the picture of the horse?
Uh-huh. It's upside down, though.
Yeah, it's upside down, just like when we looked at your name, Alan, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, notice that with this handle back there, I can move that wax paper, and you see how it goes in and out of focus? So when you look around, you make a box like this, you point it out the window, and you see the whole street in front of you, all upside down, of course, but in living color. And you can focus the screen and get it nice and sharp. When something gets closer to your hand, like my hand is out here, well, you'll have to adjust it to get my hand in focus, you see, or out there. So here you can have a lot of fun doing this. However, if you're going to make a camera and I'm going to take a picture of you, we've got to make that picture there permanent somehow, don't we?
Yeah.
What do you suggest we do?
Well, put film in it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Put film in there. In fact, this is how the camera sort of was born. At one time, artists would trace this picture out, and of course, when they took it out, they'd have a picture here on this thing. But we don't, do we?
No, we don't.
What was that picture made of up here that's disappeared now?
Beams of light.
Beams of light, and you saw how with a pinhole, you know, reflected or got the beams of light here. If we could somehow get the light to draw its own picture up here, then we'd have it, wouldn't we? That's of course what happens on film. Okay, just to make sure that you understand that, up here I have some powder. And this is powder that is sensitive to the light.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take some of that powder and put it here in this can cover.
Slowly white.
Notice it's nice and white, yeah. Now, you see that? You put that down right in the middle.
Okay.
And here's a nice bright light, which I'll put down and focus right on the top of that thing so we get a lot of light to go down on there. Real bright, so don't try to look at it too much. Now, while the light is acting on that, can you think of anything around the house that's also affected by light, that there's a chemical change that takes place because of light?
Well, the wall.
How do you mean?
Well, say you have a picture on the wall. After a while, the wall's going to get faded. If you take the picture away, you'll notice that where the picture was, it's a different color.
That's right. The light fades, and they have awnings and colored gelatins and things they put in front of store windows to keep the merchandise from fading, too, don't they? And things like that. Well, that's what's happening to that light right there. See what it's doing to the powder?
It sure has changed color.
Yeah, that started out to be nice and dark. Would you raise the magnet now that had the little... Look at that.
Wow.
See how bright it is? Mm-hmm. In fact, we now have an image there of that washer. Notice it's still powder.
It's still powder.
Yeah, and if I move it over here, you can see it's white underneath where the light didn't strike it. You know, if we took some of that powder and spread it over a piece of wax paper, why, then we'd make our picture, wouldn't we? Now,
yes.
This isn't wax paper, of course. It's
film.
It's film, and here is this powder. It isn't the same powder, but it's the same sort of thing. But we don't see it turning black, and here it is out here in the light, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's because in a piece of photographic film, the light only starts the chemical reaction, and what you have to do is then develop it. And here's some developer. And watch, I'll take some of the developer and put it here on the film, and watch what happens.
Changes color.
You see that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that no matter where I put the developer now, it's going to turn black, because after all, this piece of film was exposed here to the light.
Yes.
And wherever the light hit it, why, it then can turn black.
Dark.
Okay, well, now we have all the raw materials, or you understand, at least I think, some of the basic processes for taking a picture of you on this same kind of film, but this time with a pinhole, because I have made a special pinhole camera with which to do it. So come on over here and I'll show you how to make one of these that works all by yourself. Here. First of all, we have to have a good pinhole.
Yeah.
And the way to make a good pinhole is to get a piece of thin aluminum and punch it down to make a little dimple, and then file it off or use sandpaper, and then so it gets real thin, and then put a pin through it. And here is a little tiny hole, and you ought to try to look at it with a magnifying glass to make sure there are no burrs or things that stick up. Then you take that piece of aluminum and paint it. Spray paint is very good, dries fast. Paint on both sides in order to keep the light from being reflected. Take that pin, that hole that you've made, and now place it on this can. There it is right there. Here it is. I have it all taped into position. And over the top of it is my shutter. Later on when I take a picture, I'll open it like that and expose it and put it down like that. Now, do you recognize this can?
It's like a flower can.
Yeah, it's a flower can from the kitchen. That's exactly what it is. So you take your flower can from the kitchen, preferably one that's about this long, and in the top of it, where you're going to put the film, you could just tape the film in, but because I wanted to experiment several times, I put these pieces of metal in here. And what you're going to do is, I'm going to do this later on in this box down here, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. Inside, here is another box of film that has a rubber band around it.
Yes.
That means it's good. Inside, I've opened this box before, so these aren't any good, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this can, cover, open this box, and there's another box inside there like that. Turn it over, and like that. And in here are some layers of film.
I see.
That's a piece of black paper on the top. And here's the film, see?
Are you going to place it?
Then I'm going to put it in here like this. Now, up here there are two little notches. I put that in the upper right-hand corner and put the film in here like that. And like that.
Like that.
Okay. And now I have it all set to go. Okay. Now I want to take that out of there, so I'll do that in this box that I've got it sitting on. Now let's get this out of the way, and I'll show you then what I have to do. After I've got the film in there, I'll then close it up like this.
Make sure it's tight.
It's all tight. Notice there's a rubber stopper there?
Yes.
You'll find out about that later. Notice also here there's a tube on which I can put a funnel. Okay, you'll find out about that later, too.
All right.
So now, when I load the camera now, I have to do this in the dark. And if you were going to make one of these, well, you try to find maybe a dark closet so that you could do it in. But because I wanted to do it out here in the light, I made a box. And this box is all light tight. Would you help me take the top off there?
Okay.
See, inside there now, it's just plain box. In it, I put the film.
Film.
Put the top, where I'm going to load the film, and the camera. Put that in here. And now when I put the top on, it's all in the dark. All I have to do is get in there somehow and change it.
Yeah.
Okay? Here's a cloth sweater. You see that sweater? It has two arms but no hole for the head.
Yeah.
It looks like a sweater anyway. And what it is a changing bag, which I've put on the side. So I can put my two hands in here like this, and now I can work with my hands in the dark.
I see.
Okay. Now I'll tell you what I'm doing.
All right.
First of all, here's the film.
It's the rubber band.
That's the rubber band. Take the rubber band off. Take off the first cover. Here's the first cover. Turn it upside down. Take off the second cover. And there, now I have a piece of film in my hand. I'll put that down on the floors. Then I put the first cover back on, and I put the second cover back on. Okay?
Right.
I better, if I can find the rubber band, I'll put it back on. Can't find it. Put the film down over in the corner. Now I take that piece of film that I had before, get rid of that black paper, so I make sure that's not there. Run my hands around the edges until I get to those two notches. Okay, there are the two notches in the upper right-hand corner. And now find the camera back. That's the top. And now I can slip one side of the film into the bottom part, bend the... Oops, it came out. Okay.
All right.
Now, the film is in position.
Okay.
Now I'll put it onto the the camera body. And make sure it didn't fall out. Here, go on. Okay. Okay, now I should be able to open the box.
Okay.
There's the film.
Film.
Put the rubber band on, make sure it doesn't open accidentally. Ready for another exposure, and here comes the camera.
Uh-huh.
Now we have to take a picture.
All right.
Okay, remember where I was standing over there before? You come
Yeah.
around over there. Over here. Stand right there in the light.
All right.
Right like that. Now remember how we were able to see that image of you when we used the lens.
Yeah.
This time, because I wanted to work that out because the image of you is so dim with the pinhole. Remember how small it was before?
Yes.
And if I make it bigger, well, then we won't see, we won't get a good image. So I kept it nice and small. Now I have to sort of line this up by eye. Now I'm going to expose it for about 1 second by, first let me get, we know the film is going across there, so now I have it lined up like that.
Uh-huh.
Now turn your face slightly that way, more into the light. Oh, this is a great picture. And now when I say ready, I'm going to pull open that little flap for 1 second and then put it back again. So you hold real still. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A long second. Okay, now we just took the picture. Thank you. Very good. Now come on around over here and I'll show you. Our next problem is we have to somehow develop it. You remember when we put that paintbrush over there and we painted that developer on there and it turned black?
It turned black.
We have to do the same thing with here. So you see that picture there?
Uh-huh.
You pour it into this little funnel. Guess what that is?
Developer?
Yeah. Pour it right in.
And this is what the funnel's for.
That's what the funnel's for. And that little tube goes down there and bends so that light can't get in there, but the liquid will go in. So as you pour the liquid down here, now it's going to get right on top of that film.
I see.
Oh, stop.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little fast. I have to open this to let the air out, see, through this little pinhole.
Thirsty thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, as you started putting it in there, it began to develop immediately, but we'll leave it in there for another minute after you finish. Okay. We'll leave it in there for 1 minute. And this is the kind of a developer that works fairly fast.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the quality of the picture that we're going to get is necessarily going to be the best because we're pushing things a lot. In fact, you're supposed to dilute that, and I didn't even bother to dilute it so we could go a little faster.
Oh.
If you're going to do this at home, you get the developer and you follow the instructions that it comes with. You see?
Okay.
But I'm not doing that. I'm agitating it now to make sure that fresh developer gets around all over that image. And wherever there was light onto that piece of film,
It's going to be dark.
it's going to be dark. So what do they call that?
A negative.
That's right. Because it's just the opposite. 30 seconds. Now, after you've developed the image inside there, if we took it out and put it in the light, it would still be sensitive to light and it would turn, the whole thing would turn dark.
Yeah.
So we have to fix the image. And that's what that liquid over there in that dish is.
Oh.
So as soon as I finish with this, I'll let this out, and you get ready to pour that in. Okay. It's now ready. As soon as I let the developer out, remember that rubber stopper on the bottom?
Yeah.
Now you can see what it's for.
Oh, to let the developer out.
Yeah, to let the developer out.
Homemade Polaroid.
Yeah. Now I'll put it back in again. Okay, now you pour that in.
All right.
And now we're fixing the image. Can I go for you? Getting a little high.
Yeah.
Now, a chemical reaction takes place between the silver that was in that image, and we didn't go into the chemistry of it too much, but that prevents the light from making any further changes. And when you do this at home, you'll have a couple other steps that you go through in order to... I think I have enough. It's leaking out the bottom now.
Yeah.
That means that I have enough chemicals so that it's filling up this. Now we'll leave this in there for a minute or so. And as I say, when you do it, you'll do it a little longer than this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now remember, there was no lens.
No lens.
No lens.
Just a pinhole.
Yeah, it's just a pinhole. And if you do this, I would suggest that you probably do it outside where you have sunlight, because then you have plenty of light.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now we should be about ready. I will let this liquid out of here at the end, and then of course now we have a thing that's the wrong color. Wherever your face was light, it's black. So what do we have to do?
Well then we have to put that which is the negative, onto another piece of film to change it.
Yes, well, it's not called film anymore. It's called paper because it has a paper back this time. Okay, we can let out. There goes the fixer out now. And if we're lucky,
it'll turn out.
It'll turn out to be a picture of Alan. Oh, let's see. Well, there's
negative.
There's somebody. See him? Okay, now let's put him in the water over here and wash it off a little bit and get ready to make the print. Now, run around over here because if you get some paper and you cover it over with some of the same sort of chemical that we had before, you know, that stuff that turned dark?
Yes.
Well, remember the powder that we just shined the light on and it got dark?
Well,
if we took some paper and we covered it over with that kind of powder, only, you know, more smoothly,
yes,
and put it into a sort of emulsion, we could have a piece of paper like that. And it's not too sensitive to light unless it's not turning dark right away. I'll put this negative here on top of that, like that. Now, ordinarily, you would wait till it dried and put the negative directly on the paper. But let me try taking this now, running it up a little bit so we don't heat it up too much.
Okay.
And turn on the light. And while we're waiting for that to get dark, just to make sure that you understand that I really can make pictures, look at this. There's one I made.
Camera?
That's with the pinhole camera.
Wow.
That's with the flying goose that's sitting right over there on my... look, here's the horse that we saw earlier.
Yeah.
That's with a pinhole camera, too. You know Arlene, the girl who lives down the block? There's a picture of her. Looks like Elizabeth Taylor, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
And here's a shot out the window of my office downtown. Yeah. There's another one across the street.
That's very good.
Well, it's not bad, but when you realize there wasn't any lens involved,
yeah,
let's look at this picture of you and see what we've got.
Okay.
Aha! There you are.
Pretty good.
With a pinhole camera. So if you want to make it, do you think you can go through the steps? Probably the hardest part is going to be the chemical part. So maybe to begin with, you ought to just make the viewer. Here, would you like to take that? Take it with you. It's going to fade gradually unless you put it in a fixture, and I'll fix it up for you later. So maybe the easiest thing for you to do would be to set up a viewer like this one we had before, see? And to do that, get an ordinary 10-cent store lens, put it in the front of a box so that you can focus it like this. Get a piece of wax paper and put it in there. Here, I'll turn on the light, and you'll see that, at least to begin with, maybe this is the way you can do it. And later on, you can actually make a picture with a pinhole camera.
Watch Mr. Wizard is presented each week at this time by the Public Affairs Department of the NBC Television Network in cooperation with New York University.